How's it going, YouTube? My name is Destructible, and today we are playing Grim Dawn Forgotten Gods. We're going to be taking a look at the chaotic Torment build for the Witch Hunter. This build does a ton of damage and is going to leave bosses dead in seconds. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and also be free to check out some of the other videos I've done for Grim Dawn up until this point. I've had about 4 or 5 videos I've done prior to this one. Additionally, for those who have been watching some of my videos recently, I do plan to make like a short leveling guide video for new players to kind of get their feet wet and give them an idea. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that footage, everyone. So if you guys were interested in that build and you liked what you saw, you can just jump right down right now if you would like to skip some of this and take a look at the Grim Tools link that I'll provide with this build there, so you don't have to listen to what I'm about to explain. However, for those who do enjoy listening and taking a look at the build with me, feel free to stick around and watch. And additionally, there will be some more footage at the end showing more gameplay of the build. If you want to take another look over there, feel free. So right off, this build is using chaos damage, and you're also converting piercing damage to chaos damage. So things to note is those two things. So I went and picked up 2 Mythical Fang of Chthon. Chthon. It's not Cthulhu. That's another game. Chthon. I actually am probably butchering the hell out of that name, and I apologize. But we're using 2 of these daggers. These weapons benefit you in every way, absolutely. They are the best weapons you can use for this build. If you feel differently, please explain to me in the comments. However, for this build, I chose 2 of these weapons. You're getting that attack damage converted to health, that piercing damage converted to chaos damage, increased attack speed, increased skill points to possession, which is a skill point you'll be using, +3 to anatomy of murder, again, one you'll be using, and then +1 to all skills in occultist, which you'll also be using. Then you also get that 30% weapon damage converted over to doom bolt, and then the granted skills, which is the mark of Cthulhu, I don't even know what I'm butchering it, which reduces chaos and vitality resistance, and also that 33% of attack damage converted to health is going to be really, really helpful in the long run. So these weapons are incredible. They make this build along with the main set we'll be using with it. With that being said, we've got the Mythic Entropic Coil. I picked up this because I was looking for rings that I had that had chaos damage and offensive ability. I really pushed, if you noticed off to the side, my offensive ability as high as I could for this build to really land those crits. And then additionally, this one gives, whenever it has that 15% chance on attack to proc Entropy, which increases crit damage and does some chaos damage and a little bit of burn damage. So it seemed right at the time whenever I picked it up. That could be changed out, that ring. Then we've got the Covenant of the Three. So this is a helmet, and it does a really cool ability. I really like the black flame that comes off this. It looks really neat. Like I like the animation. It looks really nice. So this is giving you that chaos damage, obviously, and then it's giving you an additional point into Occultist, and then that Doom Bolt. So thing to note, like Doom Bolt, I do use it a lot because it has that chance to reduce enemy health by 16 to 30. I'm sorry, it does reduce their health by 16 to 31%. So it's always good to drop it on a boss or any enemy at that, but everything just dies so quickly. To me, unless it's a boss, it's kind of, you're not really using Doom Bolt. So yeah, this helmet's really good. It does benefit you a lot in this build. And then we've got Void Heart. This is another good ring for chaos damage. It's giving you that possession, so possession is going to really bolster your damage. It like almost doubles it, I believe. It adds a lot. I'm actually going to show what my damage per second over here on the combat status is displaying after I activate my 2 buffs. So we'll get to that anyway. Increases that, and then it has a chance to put Curse of the Void on it, which reduces resistances to chaos by an additional 10% and deals some chaos damage as well. And then now we're on to the main piece of this build. This is what really creates this build, is the Razin set, or excuse me, Razin's Torment. So okay, let's get into it. We've got chaos damage, trauma damage, and physical damage, all stuff you're doing. It also gives that physical damage being converted to chaos damage. A lot of the build does that. It's adding damage to the curse that you'll be applying all the time to enemies, and then that also reduces their resistances to chaos. This build, even chaotic enemies with high resistances to chaos tend to fall because you just reduce their resistances. So you don't really have to worry about chaos enemies too much and their resistances to this build, because as long as you're using your curse, you should be perfectly fine whenever you fight these enemies. So yeah, that is the first piece. And again, we got the same weapon again right over there. So then we've got the second piece, which is Razin's Shoulder Guards. Again, more physical damage, chaos damage, and then this is also converting some cold damage to chaos damage. I just noticed this right before I started this video, and if I remember when I get up here in a little bit, I'll tell you something that you could put more points into because of that cold damage being converted into chaos damage. It does add kind of a little bit more flexibility to some of the talent points that you have. So this again is given some more. It also gives more points to possession and Amarasta's quick cuts. Those are 2 abilities you'll be using. And then we've got the Mythical Void Rend Talons. More chaos damage. A lot of attack speed on these. That possession again, increasing more to your possession. And then the Belgothian's Shears. And then also, it converts some of your chaos damage into those Belgothian Shears, and 100% physical damage converted to chaos damage to Belgothian Shears. This build is nothing but chaos, so you can pick up Belgothian Shear in the Nightblade skill tree, which we'll get to because you will use it, and you'll benefit with even more chaos damage from it. We got Mythical Wind Shear Greaves. These ones, I just got these because it gave me the Whirling Death and Amarasta's Quick Cut, and then it gave some pretty decent defensive ability, quite a bit of like just small like buffs and stuff as far as like movement speed, defensive ability, physical resistances, the acid, it just all around, but mainly it was those 2 passes that came with it. Additionally, it has a 20% chance when hit to use Wind Shear, which has a bit of a long recharge on it. However, increases your attack speed, and it gives you a 60% chance to avoid melee attacks. That's going to be really, really good while it's procced, not only just for the melee attack avoidance, but also that attack speed. That really will jump your damage up a lot. Alright, for our metal, we got the Mythical Direwolf Crest. So, the only reason I got this, the only reason I picked up this one, Well, one, you get Circle of Slaughter, which you will be using, so there is that. And then you also get some increased damage to beasts and stuff. But the main reason was that offensive ability. Like I said, you really want to get your crit up. So having this is like one of like the biggest increases to offensive ability, like as far as gear goes, that I can even find. So it's really good, and it also gives a granted skill, which is just a dual wielding technique that activates off. You see it, Direwolf Claw right there. Has a 12% chance to be used, and it does some pretty good damage. So keep that in mind, and then we're going to move forward. We've got Rosin's Waistguard here, and as I've mentioned, this build is just like really cool because it just converts all his damage into chaos damage. So again, the cold damage to chaos, I'm really want to touch bases on the skill tree here, where there's another point you should probably reallocate points to. I'm actually going to do it after this. However, it won't be in this video, so I can't tell you the results that come from it. If it's any better, then this build just gets even, honestly, just that much better. It's already really good, so it would just get like that much more broken, in my opinion. So yeah, there's that. We've got Eldrick Pack here. This is a mythical relic that's increasing that chaos damage by a ton, and then it's giving some skills to occultist, and then it has a 15% chance on attack to use Chaos Surge, which this is like a blast that goes out. It's really cool. Actually, I enjoy it because all I'm doing, I just run around and I just put Curse of Fertility on everything, and this thing just procs like crazy. You'll just start seeing all these chaos balls just shooting off everywhere and hitting these enemies. So alright, jumping in, here are the skills. So the skills here I want to mention real fast is the Nightblade. The Nightblade has a lot of cold damaging abilities, so you could always go in, pick up some of these abilities, and really benefit from some of that cold damage being converted to chaos, because this is a very chaos heavy obviously build, so keep that in mind. I maxed out basically everything on the dual blade tree except for the hidden hand, because this was doing a lot of poison damage, and I don't do any poison damage with this build. So I maxed out dual blades, Belgothian shears. As mentioned, this one has some chaos damage being converted into it, so it's getting bolstered by that. And then we've got Amarasa's Quick Cut here. This is going to be, has increased crit damage, etc. 20% chance to be used. It's real good. The big one in this tree is Whirling Death. If anything, make sure you max out this one, because this is your big AoE. And when it procs, it's really cool, and it does a ton of damage. We've got Execution. This does also a ton of damage. It also does a little bit of cold damage, which is going to be converted into that chaos damage, so keep that in mind. It also does a 24% reduction to enemies' health. We've got Veil of Shadows. Real quick mention, I had a elixir in this slot right here where I just put Veil of Shadows, so if you were watching the footage prior, I didn't even have this active, which would have helped me out when fighting other Nemesis boss. However, moving forward with this build, whenever I have this active, it's just going to make things that much more trivial. So yeah, it was just a brain fart on my end. Phantasmal Armor, I just picked this up to get me a little bit of energy absorption from the enemies. That basically the top 3 traits were what I was looking for the most. The armor increase helps out a little bit, and then that Pierce resistance was just a big passive buff to Pierce to help me out with putting points elsewhere as far as with my devotions in occultistry. Anatomy of Murder, I stopped at 12. I got that 25% increase to Cunning, increased damage to humans as well, which helps out a ton. That's one of the big things from this, was the 25% Cunning, which is really giving me a big boost to my offensive ability right over here. So Occultist, we've got Doombolt. This is going to be reducing the enemy's health. That's basically the only time I'm ever using it. However, it hits really hard. It hits 50, 60k sometimes, I've noticed. Soleil's Witchfire. This is going to be giving some chaos damage, just general chaos damage coming off of it. And then Consecrated Blade here, which also converts some physical damage to chaos. And then Second Right, which increases even further, and gives you some chaos damage increase to it as well, plus vitality resistance, which again helps you put points elsewhere when it comes to your devotions and when you're augmenting and putting components into your gear. The big one here, possession. So possession is increasing your damage to chaos, and it's doing chaos damage, and it's also absorbing damage, and then and then also giving some chaos resistance as well. This is like, you'll see whenever I activate possession, it really increases my damage per second with this build. We've also got Curse of Frailty. This is something you need to use all the time. So you put this on the enemy, and then they are going to lose, because I have Hungering Void active on it. It reduces their resistances to your physical abilities, bleeding, and other stuff as well. And then also it has that, like I said, Hungering Void on it, which is going to increase chaos damage to the target. And the only thing I want to mention is since I put that Celestial Power on it, once I get to that Celestial Power, I'll just recover it again. It's going to be doing a lot of damage to you, so keep that in mind. And then also Vulnerability, which is reducing their defensive ability and some of their resistances that don't really benefit you. However, I picked it up just for that defensive ability reduction. Then we've got Blood of Drag. So you don't need to heal with this build at all. If you ever get to the point where you're going to die because you just somehow managed to pull more than you can handle, and I say somehow in quotations because it's really, really rare, it is what it is then. But the biggest reason why is because of that offensive ability. You're getting that 168 offensive ability, which is really going to help you out with getting those crits and stuff. And then I just put a point over here into Aspect of the Guardian, which just gives some poison and acid resistance and some increased acid damage, etc., and physical resistance. But I just put 1 point in, and it jumped all the way up to 7. So that's the skill tree. Now let's hop on over into the devotion. All right, so I picked up these 3 trees right here, these on the main one right here, which gives health, defense, and offensive ability. For all the small trees, I was aiming mainly for resistances and offensive and defensive attacks. And then, so keep that in mind. We're just going to go through the Celestial Powers, and I'm just going to explain what I chose, why I chose it. I did have to take Flame Torrent. I took some points out. I actually got rid of Doombolt, and then I went and brought it back right now. And I was wondering why this wasn't proccing, and then I realized it's just because I haven't been using Doombolt as much, and that this isn't a 100% chance on attack. It's only been a 25% chance. So I decided, I was like, well, I shouldn't even have it there to begin with. It should be on like something like Whirling Death. So that's where it's going now. We've also picked up Ghoulish Hunger, excuse me. It's real late. I've been up for almost 20 hours or so now. This is just going to be like an oh crap thing to activate. It's a 100% chance of 45 health. You're going to get a huge attack damage converted to health buff, a huge attack speed buff, and some physical resistances that are going to help you out. Additionally, on this is bound to Belgothian Shears. This is the Eldrick Fire. It has a 4-second duration, and it does some chaos damage. It's going to reduce their resistances by a ton, which is good. You want to get those resistances down as low as possible to do more chaos damage to them. So it's real good to just reduce all of those against the enemy. Wendigo's Mark. Wendigo's Mark. Again, it's really late over here. This is going to keep you alive. That's all I can say. I put this on Touch of Chaos, which is what I use 90% of the time. It's your default weapon. It's like I just run up and, where is it? Right down here. Touch of Chaos, which is just my main ability that I use. And that's all I sit there and do like that. And that's what keeps you alive, is just by attacking, basically. Lastly is Hungering Void, and I put this on Curse of Frailty because Curse of Frailty is being used secondly to Touch of Chaos. Excuse me. This is giving an increase to chaos damage, vitality damage, crit damage, chaos retaliation. You can see it all right there.